Next, let's see, we've had Chad on the line for a while, so let's go to Chad in Atlanta.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey, good, Chad, how are you?
I'm doing well. I wanted to call in because about 4 years ago, I kind of started my deconversion process growing up Christian, charismatic, kind of fundamentalist. I feel like I was kind of deconverting into more of a liberal Christian, like you were talking about earlier. But I found myself over the past kind of 6 months or so, finding myself in more of the I don't know camp, even with my beliefs of just kind of trying to maintain that liberal Christian kind of faith. I just found myself gravitating to the I don't know camp. And one question that I had that my wife and I, we talk about often is the belief in reincarnation. I know that I've read different articles where they talk about young children as early as 18-month-old talking about past life experiences that they could not have knowledge of, and having kind of these different claims and different stories where it just leads me to wonder. And I personally, I like the idea of kind of recycling just for my own kind of peace of mind. And I've listened to a lot of your podcasts over the past kind of 2 or 3 weeks. Honestly, I've been plowing through them. But I wanted to kind of get your perspective on, just an atheist perspective on the idea of reincarnation.
Well, I don't think we would ever claim to speak for atheists in general. We can speak for ourselves.
Sure, absolutely. Well, then your perspective. Thank you.
My perspective is, I would love to think that reincarnation is real. As an atheist, or as a skeptic, I should say, I'm not satisfied with the evidence that we have so far that reincarnation really happens. I've heard of some of the anecdotal stories, and I'm not sure how well they hold up under scrutiny. But I'm always comfortable with I don't know until I get more evidence. So I don't think I don't know is a bad place to be. I think that's kind of the default place to be, and then you kind of see what the evidence is, and you're either convinced of something or you're not. So
okay.
So yeah, I don't see a whole lot of evidence for reincarnation. I think that we'd have a lot more of those stories if there was something to it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm unconvinced as well.
Okay. Okay, well, I appreciate that. I do have another question, if that's okay.
Okay.
Because I just was curious over the reincarnation. Another thing that I find myself, because I'm not like anti-gay or anything, like anti-different people groups and everything, and I find I get in conversations with people that are trying to convince me how I need to like accept God's word on hating homosexuals and not approving of them and everything, and as well as hell. Like they definitely want hell. And one of the things that I feel like I get brought up a lot is the idea of free will. And I always end up kind of talking to him about how, like, I feel like it's not a choice. It's an ultimatum that you're laying out, and you can't make a free will choice with an ultimatum kind of setup. But one of the questions that I'm wondering is that I feel like free will is kind of a vague term where it's just like we're free to choose, but really it's kind of free to choose. I feel like sometimes just according to your own experience, that could be very tainting the free will. And I heard in a previous podcast where, I don't remember who said this, but they were talking about how they didn't believe that free will even existed. And I was just curious on your perspective because I'd love to kind of flesh it out a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the free will that most of the Christians are talking about doesn't actually exist, as in you can choose your beliefs, because you actually can't. You're either convinced or you're not. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if somebody said, okay, you have to be a Christian or I'm going to kill you, I'd be on my knees praying like crazy, but I wouldn't believe,
Right.
I mean,
right.
Assuming they had the means to do it and they were, directly threatening my life. And somebody's going to misquote that and say, "Oh, see, Jen would convert if."
Do you guys believe in free will, like in any form of a concept?
Well, I mean, in the sense that, I guess I can choose to do something or not. Not the type of free will that Christians are talking about, where you could absolutely choose anything. I don't think any choice is available to you. And I think that a lot of people, when they talk about a freely chosen, decision, you're actually already limited to what you can choose by the circumstances that you're in. So it's not like you could completely shift gears and make a totally different choice. So I'm probably rambling too much here, but basically, in order for me to make a completely different choice about my beliefs, I would have to not know a whole bunch of stuff that I know.
Like, I agree, because I feel like once my mind's been opened, I can't kind of close it again. Is there anything that you would suggest when talking to people where, because I've been really just talking to them and just saying, it's not a choice, it's an ultimatum when you have this kind of equation that you're setting in front of people, it can't possibly be a choice.
Yeah, if somebody holds a gun to your head and says, give me your wallet, it's not really a choice that you have, a free choice to give them your wallet. It's a forced choice. But there's another aspect of free will that people who like philosophy tend to get into, and that's like, I can choose what I want to have for breakfast. But some people will claim your brain is physical. It's a free choice is an illusion. Your brain, the way your brain functions has predetermined that you're going to pick cornflakes instead of scrambled eggs, and so it's not really free will. It's a physical process that your brain is doing. I can accept that and still say if that's true, we have the illusion of free will. It's still free will from our perspective.
It still feels like you're making a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tend not to get too mired into those things because that can be a rabbit hole. But when it comes to something you're going to accept as true or not, you have to be convinced.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your podcast. It's been an enjoyable find for me over the past few weeks, and I look forward to continuing to listen to you guys.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Take care.
You too.